we watched this girl the other day, or person, sorry. Anyway, and it's called The Biggest Hypocrite Gothix. That's another content creator. I've watched a couple of Gothix's videos. I also disagree with them. This is her. Them. I don't know. Whatever. So I'm kind of curious. There's plenty to criticize. So let's see what we got.
Greetings, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video.
Good, not loud.
Today, I am going to be watching a video or two, depending on time, posted by this creator called Gothix. Now, I had never heard of her before, but I asked on Patreon a little while back what people wanted to see from me, and Jessica recommended this video to me, so thank you, Jessica. I appreciate you, but also, you've caused me suffering. And so I'm going to inflict said suffering upon all of you, because oh my good God, did these videos get me freaking riled up. Woohoo! We're going to be watching a couple of those. I always want to watch multiple, but I always get too carried away and we only ever watch one. So we'll see where the wind blows and where we end up. But yeah, so massive thank you to today's patron of the day, Jessica, for suggesting this video. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the video. And if anyone would like to become a patron, you can go to patreon.com/savvycat. It starts as little as £1 a month. And if you want to hear more about it, then stick around until the end. If you don't know who Gothix is, she's conservative. She calls herself unlabeled, but she is conservative. And she makes like political commentary videos. She has a lot of...
She's pretty conservative. I can't remember what it was, but I watched this like really bizarre Gothix video where she did like this rant about LGBTQ. Yeah, it was called Why Pride is Hurting Society, and it was just this like really weird rant where she was just like going on, like she was just going off, and it's basically about how like pride is bad, but it's just like this weird Jordan Peterson language, which is just so, which is like pride is bad. Because pride is bad, that means the LGBTQ community is bad. It's like this weird, like, it was just really bizarre. I don't really know how else to say it. So after that, I was like, this girl's a little bit, a little sussy. She's a little sussy.
Of talking points that are so completely just like, what are you talking about? But she says everything with such like overconfidence, and it's like, it's a lot.
Well, I mean, you did do that about the boy mom thing. Let's just be real, okay? All right?
It's a lot. And she tries to cover all of it up with like a you do you, I don't judge, like you can do what you want, I don't care, but then says like the most hateful shit, you know? Like she says the most ignorant stuff and then is like, but I don't actually really care that much. Like today the video I want to focus on is one called Don't Fall for the Diversity Scam. And I feel like from the title alone, you know that this is going to be one of those videos. All right, let's get into it.
Anyone that says we haven't made progress in terms of diversity is simply being dishonest. I mean, it is not the 1940s anymore. We know what diversity is. We know what inclusion is.
I mean, yeah, no one's saying that there hasn't been any progress with diversity and representation. No one is saying that. But progress isn't the end goal. Progress is an ongoing thing. You don't progress and then just stop because you're like, it's better than before. You progress until it's good and equal. We're not there yet.
I would say it's interesting. Progress is very interesting. Because I say that, like, obviously, yeah, you want to progress until things are better, but sometimes being, I'm getting my ass beat today. Sometimes it's an interesting dynamic between like liberal and conservative or progressive and conservative, where sometimes the best way to move is to just like sit still. Because a lot of people are like, oh, conservatives are so bad because they're trying to halt advancement. And there's a level of truth to them trying to halt advancement, but sometimes we move too fast and society can't adjust and we start to get like some kind of a whiplash. So that's why you notice that like we go a little to the left and then we go more to the right. We take 2 steps forward and then 1 step back. More like 10 steps forward and 9 steps back, right? Because that's kind of the whole, that's kind of the way it goes. So, and it makes sense.
Still in the progress. No one is saying it hasn't progressed. It has. but there's a long way to go.
I'm going to be discussing how the political left has weaponized these terms in order to further a political agenda. One of the first tactics that they use to do this is by controlling language. Now, the other tactic that they'll use is by promoting collectivism. This idea that me as a black person share the same experiences as this other random black person. Oftentimes you might hear the phrase we when someone is talking about their experience as someone in the LGBT or someone that's black. They have this sense of, I am connected with someone else on the principles of skin color or gender or sexuality.
So the thing with that is like there is a general like kind of collective experience between marginalized groups, you know, which is not a problem. Like there's always going to be like, oh, this is a general struggle that you know, different marginalized groups might face. I think that the problem comes in when there are some people that say, hey, I don't have that experience. And they're kind of just shamed. That's where I think it becomes a bit of a problem. It's not that because there's a general consensus of like, hey, you know, black people are oppressed. There's like this systemic racism, or there's historical systemic racism. This is a problem for us. But then some people will be like, hey, I don't have that experience. And then people will be like, well, then you're not black. It's like, well, okay, relax. Like some people can just be fucking different. Okay. That's where I think it gets a little toxic. It's okay to acknowledge that there's like a general collective experience, but it's not okay to tell somebody that they're not a thing just because they don't identify with that experience.
Well, yeah, we have a major thing in common that affects our lives based off of the society that we live in. So like when I say we, referring to the queer community, we face oppression because we do, and we all experience that differently. And a lot of the time we isn't necessarily encapsulating everyone, but it is like overall, like a lot of people are included in like a large amount of the conversation. Like I personally never had to come out to my family. That's not something I ever did. However, a majority of queer people do. And a lot of queer people when talking about coming out will be like, when we come out, when we as queer people come out, and I don't take offense to that. I am an outlier in that situation. And I understand the like struggle and the fear that must come with that, because like, although I'm not someone who's ever faced much discrimination within my friends or family or workspace or school, that's not something I've ever had to deal with.
You know what, on all honesty, I respect her saying that, because I do feel like there are some people who will just be like, yeah, like they will identify with there's identities like LGBTQ, and there's oppression associated with it, but not everybody faces that oppression. And you know, I feel like there are some people who, even if they've never faced oppression, will say that they have. They're like, oh, I faced oppression, even if they haven't, just because they identify with that community. So I can respect her being like, yeah, you know what, like I'm LGBTQ in some capacity, but I've never personally been oppressed, but there's still a collective oppression. I can respect that because she's identifying with the community, not with the oppression. But some people like identify with the oppression. It's so weird, but there are some people who like they want to be oppressed because their life is so boring because they've never been oppressed that they were like, you know what, I'm so oppressed because of this. It's like, no, you don't have to. Why the fuck do you want to be oppressed? You know what I mean? So I can respect that.
I remember being in a relationship with a woman for the first time, and the only time. And we went to her hometown, which was like a small town in New Zealand, and I was like afraid to hold her hand because I knew people were gonna look at me and I knew people might say something, and I felt that fear for the first time. And I was like, oh my god, I didn't even know I had that. That's not something I ever thought that would concern me, because it had never been a concern in my day-to-day life because of the privileged space that I grew up in. I'd never had that fear before, and I didn't realize it was like so ingrained in me that like being in a small town in New Zealand, I was like afraid. You know, like that is a very widespread, almost universal similarity that all queer people will experience at some point. Maybe not everyone, but we are all aware that we are treated differently, we are viewed differently, and whether, you know, however that manifests itself might be different between people, but that is a shared experience, whether people acknowledge it or are aware of it or not. And it's the same with like, you know, other forms of oppression. Like as women, I know that we as women are treated unequally within society. And I know that like, even if I'm not actively aware of that, and I know there are a lot of women who like to say, we aren't discriminated against, we have the same opportunities, we have all the same stuff, there's no sexism that exists, no misogyny that exists. And they can deny that all they like, but it doesn't take away from the fact that they have experienced misogyny. That is definitely something that they have experienced, being talked over or being interrupted or being made to feel smaller. But some people
possibly, yeah. I mean, you know, my mom is like a businesswoman, and I think that you know, it seems from what she's told me, she's never explicitly said I've been treated worse because I'm a woman, but she's told many stories where that is, well, you get that feeling, not because she tells you, but it's just because for some reason some men just they do too much. There's a level of truth to that. I think one of the good things, this is interesting, it's a little bit of a bizarre thought, but my mother never like identified as a woman, I don't think, in like that oppression space. And because of that, she might not have been like actively aware that people were speaking down to her because she's a woman, but she also never like made it a crutch for her. I feel like this, all I'm trying to communicate, maybe I'm doing it poorly, is that there's a fine line between acknowledging oppression versus looking at your oppression through like a lens where you think every issue that you have in your life is because of that identity. Like I got ADHD and all this other stuff. I'm a little sussy, but I never looked at my struggles as like, oh, this is a problem. This is why I'm failing. Because sometimes you can lean into it too much. And then, like, you think everything is because of it. Like, let's say it's like, oh, yeah, I'm fat. So I think every interaction I have is because I'm fat, and people just hate me because I'm fat. Well, then, like I said, it's an easy, you know, there's a fine line. You get to a point where you start blaming everything on your obesity, you know? Like, there's some stuff. Like, when I go to the gym, sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm kind of big. I feel like a little self-conscious. But I also try to acknowledge that some of that, because I have people that have made, like, snide comments to me before, but some of that's just the way that I feel. I try not to blame it on it too much and try to stay in your own head and not get all fucking crazy, you know?
Don't acknowledge it or realize it's happening because of how normal it is. So I can say we have experienced this and we experience this thing as a collective. Whether people want to acknowledge that or not is up to them. But it doesn't take away from the fact that it is true. Anyway, we are 1 minute into the video and I've been talking for 10. So I'm going to keep going.
Hey,
the last tactic that they'll use is by encouraging victimization. They'll victimize people to get them to believe they actually need this thing. They do this by trying to convince everyone that words equal violence. Consider what the typical response would be if a white person were to call a black person the N-word. Some people would react very aggressively, and some other times it could lead to physical assault, which both are bad.
Stop!
Not me, though.
Sorry,
I don't react that way, because I'm able to make that separation and say, that is a word, and I'm still okay.
I don't know, bro. Listen, if you fucking listen, okay. Yeah, it's just a word. Let's be real. But it's more than just I don't know. Listen, maybe this is because I'm a man. So, like, I don't know. I feel like men have egos. I know I have a bigger ego probably than most women, but there's disrespect, and you know, you disrespect's met with disrespect. There's nothing more disrespectful that you could really say to a black person than call them the fucking N-word. And frankly, there's nothing you could say to me as a white person that like will ever match that. So, you know, if I was black, listen, there's things that you could say to me that'll make me hit you. Okay, so I feel like I get it. You know, I think that maybe just don't call people the fucking N-word. I don't know. I would focus more on that. It's like, yeah, if somebody calls me the N-word, whatever, no big deal. I'd be like, well, maybe don't call people the N-word because that might get you hit. And if, like, let's say my kid ever called someone the N-word, and they get hit, okay, sucks to suck. I'd probably hit you too. It's not just like all words are just words, but like words obviously have a meaning to it, and there's a lot of meaning in the N-word. There's really no slur that means more in the English language, at least, than the fucking N-word, man. I don't know. That's a little sussy to say that, bro. It's a little bit suspicious, like a character from Among Us. So, okay, God bless you, I guess.
I have things to do. Goodbye.
Good for you. I'm glad that words don't affect you like that, but it's this thing of like, you have to understand the intention behind the word, right? People are saying that because they know it's a powerful word and that it hurts, and they know that it's bad to say and what the roots are.
Hit hard
so like you can brush it off and say it doesn't
True.
impact you. You don't have to like yell at people or get into physical altercations with people to acknowledge that a word is like heavy and holds a lot of weight.
Yeah, just like my body.
Like a lot of the times people say the N-word in like a casual setting or whatever, and they're informed like, hey, don't say that it has this weight. It's not out of anger, it's out of like lack of education until they say it again. And then it's like, okay, well, you know what this word means. You know why you shouldn't say it. And that is because it holds a lot of like hatred and awful, heavy stuff. And if you choose to say it, you're choosing to say that you don't care about that. And you don't care about what this word actually means and why it is such a harmful word.
She probably doesn't.
And then people get upset because knowing that and being told why you shouldn't say it
I just don't believe
Saying
her.
it means you don't care, and it means you don't.
Personally, I just don't believe Gothix because it feels like we're bordering and validating Gothix for, I don't know, whatever, being black, but I don't know if that's her intention. Listen, bro, I just feel like there's some kind of weird struggle going on in Gothix's life where she's fucking overcorrecting, okay? Because I think I've been there at least, where like, you know, I've always been progressive. What does this do? Oh, it makes me come. I've always been progressive, but you got to get the points where sometimes you get a disproportionate heat for some of the things that you've said. Maybe they're out of ignorance, and then you overcorrect and become a little too conservative. And that's kind of like a place I've been before. And so I feel like, yeah, you better give me something, Aries, you pussy. And I kind of feel like maybe that's where she's at. I don't know. That's just where I feel like maybe she's at more than anything else. Because there's no fucking way she doesn't like care about the fucking N-word. You're getting called the N-word. I just don't believe that. That's nuts.
Don't care about the weight of that thing. So I think people are rightfully allowed to get upset about it. You don't have to be like personally offended, but you can make a judgment on a person who says it. And if they don't want to listen to you and stop saying it, that's on them. But you are allowed to be hurt by that.
Here's another example. The gender identity community. If I were to say that man is still a man despite all of these surgeries or hormones he takes, or there is no such thing as non-binary, you're either a man or a woman, some people would say that's harmful. What you're
I think it's at the very least disrespectful. Is this a good spot for? Should I put this up here somewhere? The video, like where would you guys be able to see better? Because I feel like I wanted you guys to get the awesome gameplay that's going on here. Yeah, that just comes off as like disrespectful. Listen, here's the thing. There's plenty of people who like don't believe. Listen, it could be a lot to understand gender identity disorder, or not even just that, but just like, you know, gender. Hold on. Gender dysphoria, gender euphoria. There's like a lot. There's gender identity disorder is gone. Sorry, gender euphoria, gender dysphoria. I get that, but you know, sometimes people will say things just to be provocative, right? So like, here's the philosophy. I go, oh my god, it's like, oh, it's about respect. My thing is, it's like I don't really get the whole non-binary thing, and I probably never will from like a personal level. But like, I still call people they, them because it's like respectful, and I kind of operate on respect before anything else. Right? And if you don't want to do that, just call the person by their name. You know? You can do that. It's fine, you know? How does this work? You could just call the person by their name, and I think that would be respectful. I think that I have some friends that are non-binary, and like I said, I don't fucking get it. But they're good people, and I don't think that they're lying. You know? So I just kind of operate with respect. You know, when it comes to people that are like with gender dysphoria, I get that a lot more. I mean, that's a whole different thing. But, yeah. How was the video up here instead? Is it better? Or did it really not matter? Maybe it never mattered. Let's just continue.
Is going to cause harm. They're trying to make words the equivalent to actual literal violence.
Well, like, here's the thing. Like, let's say you're somebody with, like, you have gender dysphoria, right? So you have, like, you have so much distress associated with your gender identity not matching your sex that, like, it makes you, like, severely depressed. Getting, like, misgendered and shit is a little bit more than just, like, oh, he said a word to me. It's, like, it's a fundamental denial of somebody's identity in a way that's, like, very harmful to them. And, like, yeah, that could hurt them. They can't really be their authentic selves. I feel like fundamentally that's not good for anybody. You know, that invalidation can mean like they get excluded from particular spaces in a way that could be like harmful to them, or their experiences can be like not valued as much. You know, it can mean a lack of access to healthcare. Like if our entire society is like, I don't think gender dysphoria exists, then these motherfuckers aren't going to get healthcare, and they're just going to fucking kill themselves. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's not that deep. That's pretty much it. And so, like, that's why it's important to understand and acknowledge that these things do exist, because people can get, like, that's how people get denied gender affirming care, is by you saying, or by society saying, this doesn't really exist and you're wrong on like a whole, like a massive level, right? So,
what? Yeah, it is harmful, and it is doing harm, and words can be as bad as physical violence. What are you on? It is really dangerous to say that words cannot be as harmful as physical violence, and it sets people up to be put in really terrible positions and to be very hurt. There are a multitude of reasons for this, all right? I could go into this and talk about this alone for so long. Hear me out here, all right? If we are taught that words cannot do physical damage, then you are teaching people...
Well, we do that, sticks and stones, am I right?
to put up with so much emotional abuse and damage. Being invalidated in your gender like that, if you are a like trans woman and...
Okay. So the way that you need to teach people the right way is you need to teach everybody personal strength and empathy, right? Let me just go back to what she said really quick.
To put up with words cannot do physical damage, then you are teaching people to put up with so much emotional abuse.
Okay, so the way that you need to teach people about words is this. Like, you need to teach them that other people's words should not have an impact on you. And if they do, try not to let them. You know, maybe you obviously lean on the fact that they're ignorant, they don't understand your experience, and so don't let it get to you. Because you have to teach people that, hey, those words don't matter to somebody for their personal strength. While at the same time educating people on understanding that their words carry a weight that could hurt other people, if that makes sense, right? Sticks and stones can break my bones, right? But words can never hurt me. That's for your own personal strength. So you're like, okay, you want to call me this bad thing and invalidate my experience? Well, I don't have to care about you or what you think, and so I'm going to, rely on personal strength. It's very important to teach people that, but at the same time, we also need to teach people not to understand that their words can carry a lot of weight and can hurt somebody, right? So that's kind of the way that you should interact with that.
And damage. Being invalidated in your gender like that, if you are a like trans woman and you have figured out that identity and you feel confident and comfortable presenting as a woman and being a woman and telling people you're a woman after spending years of battling that within yourself, and you finally, decide that you're ready to share that, ready to live as your authentic self, and someone comes in and invalidates that and is like, no, you're a man. No, you're a man. That's going to fucking hurt. That is going to hurt. And you might not be physically hurting them. However, a lot of trans people are physically hurting themselves, and that is because of words. And you can be like, you can be stronger. I can ignore the N-word being said to me, so then why can't you do that? Everyone has a different emotional threshold. Everybody experiences life differently and feels things differently. And if you have spent a long time trying to overcome some internal turmoil and you get beaten down for it, it's gonna fucking hurt because they have already spent time in their heads telling themselves this and they finally overcome it. And then to be told it, it's very, very damaging. I am someone who has been emotionally abused by people around me my entire life. I was in...
Sounds like a skill issue.
And for 3 years. And that was very, very heavily emotional abuse. And that...
You know what's really fucked up? It was interesting because my wife and I talk about like a lot of our struggles in our life all the time. And so like I know all her like, deep shit that bothers her and she knows mine too. But like sometimes I keep eating that. The other day she was like, I feel like I don't really know you sometimes. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, because you never really tell me about any like traumatic experience that you had. And I'm like, well, it's because I don't really have any. And she's like, well, I don't think that's true. I think that maybe you just suppress it because I was laughing. And then I was like, oh, remember I told you about the time a guy broke into my house and it was scary and I started laughing. It's like, yeah, like that. Like you just start laughing. Well, it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's fucked up. What do you want me to do? It is what it is. Like shit happens. So I think it's my wife's theory that I'm a little more fucked up than I think. Maybe I'm suppressing something. And I was like, well, then let's just hope that it doesn't come out. Because I'm not about that life, baby. I'm not trying to relive some kind of fucking traumatic experience, dog. Restore. Oh, wait, did I just die? What happened? What the frick? Oh, okay. So yeah, that's just my wife's theory. Yo, stop fucking with me, bro. Get over here. Oh, I can't go in there. Maybe I do, Maybe I got some hurt in there, but why would I want to recall that?
Is the most damaging, awful thing I've ever been through. Because words fucking
dude, stop fucking
and
me.
They can do so much damage. And like talking to my therapist about it and stuff, a lot of the time they'll always say, emotional damage and words and the way people speak to you and treat you through their words can be much more damaging because there's no physical proof of it. And because of people like you who say that words aren't bad, violence is bad. People invalidate the way that the words make them feel. People say, well, it can't be bad because they aren't hitting me. Or, well, it can't be bad because I'm not being physically abused, so therefore I have to suck it up and put up with it. No. Words hurt. Words are impactful. Everyone responds to things differently. Everyone has a different emotional threshold. And we are all different fucking people, all right? I'm glad that words don't hurt you. But you aren't the blueprint. You are saying, you just fucking said, you need to stop referring to everyone as a collective. You need to stop saying we, because we're all different, you know? My skin color doesn't make me the same as every other person of my skin color. My sexuality doesn't make me the same as everyone else. Exactly. So why are you saying that because words don't hurt you, they shouldn't hurt anyone else? This isn't a collective. We're all individuals.
We're going to get into it, and we're going to start this off by talking about representation, which I think is the most insulting thing to say, especially in terms of Hollywood. We lack
Thank you for the small guy. I don't know why I didn't announce it. Thank you so much, brother.
Representation in movies. Yeah, really? Really? Uh-huh. Tell me more lies.
That's so funny. We lack...
I think is the most insulting thing to say, especially in terms of Hollywood. We lack representation in movies. Yeah, really? Really?
Well, it doesn't matter.
Uh-huh. Tell me more lies.
Well, I mean, okay. Like, okay, so it's fine to be like, hey, I don't, okay. It's fine to say, like, hey, listen, like, I don't want you to change, because most people are like, hey, I think we have enough representation that we don't need to, like, force representation. I've heard people say that point. I'm like, okay, that makes sense to me. You know, we don't need to make the Little Mermaid black, especially since you're only making her black just so that you can appear virtuous. Right? That's not actually inclusion. That's just a virtue signal. But to say, like, we need black representation and then just Google black actors, like, of course there's going to be black actors. The question isn't how many black actors there are. The question is how many black actors are there proportionate to the black population, and how many of those black actors have risen to the top and get lead roles compared to other things, right? That's a better question, right? Because you could look up anything and you could find things on Google, right? Now, personally, I don't really give a shit about representation in a way that's like really resonates with me. I understand people want representation. That's thing that's totally cool. Plus, she only showed one black person, right? Because they all look the same. Oh, I'm just kidding. But I get it. You know, personally, like, I think that, like, The Last of Us did a pretty good job. They made, like, the guy's the daughter black, which, by the way, she was a better actress than the fucking actual girl that's playing Remy or whatever the girl is. I was so upset when she died because she was so good. Like, there's nothing wrong with stuff like that as long as you're not explicitly like, oh, we're making a black, like, you know, just like do what you're gonna do. Best actor for the job. There's probably still some areas where there could be better black representation, but you know, I just think that the wrong way to go is to virtue signal about it and to like make a character black and then like and make it that like the whole like primary point of the movie is we made a guy black that used to be white, and it's like, well, just don't tell us, like, just do it, who cares, you know what I mean? It's weird. I know it sounds bizarre what I'm saying, but that part can get a little fucking ridiculous.
That's so funny.
Let's do some revenge damage, baby.
We lack representation in Hollywood. All right, let me Google black actors and you'll see that they exist. That's a terrible way to prove your point. Oh my god. Okay, that's not the way to do it, and clearly you know that, or you would have, you know, done it the appropriate way, which would be Google movies and TV shows and look at the like main cast of all of them, and then compare how many have all white, all men cast, or majority, very heavy majority men and white and straight versus everything else, because you will very much find there is still a massive difference. Like, yeah, all right, we have a token black character, a token gay character, a token Asian character, etc. in more films.
I'm getting my ass pushed.
But it's still a large minority. There are still so many films that are entirely cishet men. I went to the Black Panther movie last week, and there was an ad for a movie. I don't remember what movie it was.
There's a little bit of irony. It's like, I went to the Black Panther movie, and I saw that there was a movie with white people, and it's like, well, you went to a fucking Black Panther movie. I feel like someone would say, like, hey, that's pretty, like, that's good proof that we're moving in the right direction, because it's a whole movie about, you know, Black Panther, a black character, you know? This room's hard. I don't know why this is so fucking difficult. I need to get the right fucking chain here. Ugh. I got such a good like chain the other day where I got like health every time I hit somebody. It was so good.
because I have no interest in it at all. There was an ad for a new action movie coming out. There was not a single woman in the entire trailer. I think at the very end, there was one woman in a fight scene. The entire trailer, all men. So yeah, representation's looking really good because
there's nothing wrong. See, that's the problem is just because we may generally need more representation doesn't mean every movie needs more representation, right? Like if I'm making a movie about dudes fucking punching each other, women probably aren't going to like that movie, so I don't really need to add too many women into that movie, right? Like that. Oh, I just fucking died because I walked into the water, the fire water. Oh, alcohol water. But yeah, not every movie needs more representation. It's more of like a general thing, okay? Like if you're gonna make like an Expendables 4, you're not gonna like be like, yeah, we need to add like 17 women, bro. I gotta fucking dodge, dude. I'm getting so irritated, right? Unless those girls have big boobies, because that's gonna appeal to me as a man. Big titties, and frankly, you too. You like girls. You know you like big titties too. You're lying, okay? Lesbians are basically just men that are prettier. Except for like Timothée Chalamet. He's pretty. Oh, I was stoned. Oh, now that makes sense. You know, I don't even really know what Timothée Chalamet looks like. I think he's one of the Jonas Brothers, so.
Find me a movie where it's all women. Find me one.
Sex and the City
then find
movie?
me another. Because this is still like a majority of films. You look at like the Avengers, they're all men, and then they have like one woman, and she fucking died. Like,
yeah, but also like the men tend to like superhero movies a little more. Where the fuck is this last person I'm supposed to kill? I think I'm soft locked. Oh fuck.
They killed off their only woman. It's
good.
There's still no fucking representation. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, it's better. There are black actors.
Yeah, like Scarlet Witch. She's a pretty cool character. I think that my game got locked. Oh, maybe there's a fountain I need to drink from. Bro, what am I supposed to do here? I'm fucking upset. Okay.
Exist now. But where's the queer representation? The trans representation? The women? The women of color? Yes, they exist. Thank you for noticing. But they are still in the vast minority, and very, very rarely are they the main protagonist. And when women are the main protagonists, very rarely is it not like a love story.
And there are a few.
Well, yeah, but that makes sense. Mostly because women like love stories more than men. Like. We have to acknowledge that there are some ways that men generally tend to gravitate towards like more action violence, and women tend to gravitate towards more like romantic stuff. So of course you're gonna see that. Duh, right? True.
Obvious problems with that statement anyway. The first is that when you go into a room and all you see are white people, and you assume, oh, this company is racist because they don't have enough black people or they don't have any black people working for this company, you have to ask yourself how many black people or gay people or women, or I don't even know, because lately women have been getting the shit end of the stick.
Okay, so at least you're acknowledging misogyny.
No, she's not. Oh no, she's not acknowledging misogyny. No. You fell for her trap card. No, she's not Bro, she's taking a shot at trans women. I fucking guarantee it. I know she's taking a shot at trans women. She's women have been taking the shit under the stick because they fucking men in the bathrooms. I fucking guarantee it. Put my life on. That's what she's referring to. You've activated her trap card, dude. What are you doing? You can't do that. No. I died.
Exists, but then like surely you can acknowledge.
No,
you know what?
No,
Let's.
No.
How many people within these categories are actually pursuing that field? That's the first question you have to ask.
That's a good question, but then also you'd be like, well, how many of those people aren't pursuing the field because they feel like they're not going to be included? And then part of that is because they historically may not have been included, and part of that might actually just be because they're too nervous about not being included, right? Gets into like a whole big old conversation about the whole thing.
And then the other thing you have to consider is how many people a part of those demographics are actually good at what they're doing. What about their experience? What about their values? Are they fit for that position?
And this leads you into then having to ask, why would a majority of people who are interested in this field be white men? Why are they the ones who all want?
I feel like the majority of people that are interested in acting are not white men. I don't think that that's true. What? That's just a weird claim. Maybe white people. I don't even know how you would look that up. What? lead actors in movies in 2011 to 2021 by gender. 2021 report found that 47% of lead actors in films in the United States that year were female. Wow, that's crazy. Is that true? I feel like there's a lot of women want to be actors, no? They might get different roles, but like, yeah.
Want to work here. And why are they the ones being hired? You said you don't like the collective, and you hate using the collective we when talking about like a group of people, like of a specific race or sexuality or gender, etc., right? You hate using that because, you know, we're all different people within that. So then tell me why only white men would be interested in this thing. That seems like a pretty collective thing. I thought that we were all individuals and it had nothing to do with our races or our sexualities or our gender, etc. So then why would only white men be interested in it? Why would only they be hired? Because surely
I don't think it's that
more black people, more Asian people, more queer people, more women would be interested in those fields. Do you think that white men were...
I think one of the things that bother me is that there's like no acknowledgement that like things are obviously changing pretty substantially. What does this do? Oh. What the fuck? Okay, that's cool. Because they clearly are. I mean, look at Tyler Perry. Am I right, guys?
Brought up differently in order to feel as though they could succeed in this field more? Do you think that they were catered to more in order to get to this place? Do you think they were given the opportunity to get more education in this field? Do you think that all these white men who are superiors and are superiors because they are better and more qualified are better and more qualified because it's in, you know, white men's genes, or because of the way that we are treated differently in society? This is just something to think about. You can't have both. You can't say we are all the same. It doesn't matter. I don't see color. I don't see gender. It's all about how qualified you are and how good you are. And at the same time, be like,
I mean,
maybe
frankly, we should operate like that in like a general, in like an individual sense. Absolutely should be colorblind. Yeah, for sure. But on like a systemic or societal sense, like obviously you would be different. But like, yeah, you have to act like that. I think that like it's silly when we call it racist to, treat each other equally on an individual level, right? Systemic is different. I get it. But I mean, like, what do you want me to do? Go to the fucking grocery store and get on one knee when like some fucking black guy behind me wants to get like a thing of Entenmann's? You know what I mean? Like, what do you want me to tell you? Like, nah, you gotta wait in line like the rest of us. All right, bro, chill out. You know, on an individual level, we treat each other equally. Systemic, different. You know, we should acknowledge different struggles.
all the people who were best at it were just white men. Why do you think that is? How do you think we got there?
We're just skill
Representation
issue.
is actually more dangerous when we're speaking in terms of politics. Because if you're always looking at everything through the lens of identity, skin color, race, sexuality, what you're doing at the same time is you're providing that person shield from criticism.
Right,
you know, I always talk about how I got my marching orders because my brain was just programmed as a black person to vote for someone that looked like me. So I went to the voting booth and I voted for this guy just because he had my skin color. I didn't know anything.
We all kind of do that though. Like, there's a level of comfort. I will often reference this study where like people of like the same race will tend to be more comfortable with other people of the same race more than people of another race until they get to know them. Then that like bias goes away. We all kind of vote like that. I do fundamentally agree with like sometimes you're kind of pigeonholed in some capacity, or rather, I do agree that like sometimes if you overly focus on your identity as like the issue that you have in your life, then it can severely cripple you because it'll cause you to not like see what kind of development you could take. Because sometimes it could be because of an oppression. Sometimes maybe you're just an asshole. You know what I mean? Like, let's say you get fired from a job. You know, maybe you got fired from the job because you're black, or maybe you're just kind of an asshole. Like, you know what I mean? It's good to take some personal responsibility and try not to lean too much into like, you know, like, oh, it must have been because of this. But sometimes maybe you just could have been a little bit nicer. You know what I mean?
Think about his policies or his values.
But then that surely explains that you clearly felt like you wanted that representation. You know, like you wanted a black person in office because you wanted the representation there. So like you didn't look into his policies and things because you felt that representation was missing. That is a problem. Obviously, people absolutely should be looking into the policies of the people that they're voting for, and it shouldn't come down to their ethnicity or their culture or their gender or their sexuality, etc., etc. It should entirely revolve around their policies. You're absolutely correct. You are talking about this like it's the left's fault, right? Like it's the left being like pushing, vote for them because they're a woman, vote for them because they're black, vote for them because they're gay.
That. What?
But like
the left does do that. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like if you're gay and you feel like there's not and you feel like there's not very good gay representation, of course you're gonna be like, oh, vote for me, I'm gay, I know what's better for gay people than the non-gay person. You know what I mean? Which generally might be true. You shouldn't solely be like that much of like a single issue voter. that you're only voting because they're fucking that identity. But it's not inherently bad to look at identity and go like, oh, because conservatives do it too. That's why they're like, hey, I'm a Christian conservative. Oh, that's all it takes for me. You're fucking religious. Holy shit, I'm gonna vote for you. The bar is a little low. If you say you love God in a speech, there's a better chance that some fucking old white folks are going to vote for you. Okay. And black folks, too. Let's be real. Because black people are actually much more conservative than you think. But, just saying.
I don't know if you're aware of this, but you do realize and remember that the candidate the left wanted for president was Bernie Sanders, right? Like a cis-het white man. That was the favorite of the, far left.
Yeah, the far left. What does that matter?
Not Hillary, the woman. No one was voting for Hillary because she was a woman.
There were plenty of people voting for Hillary because she was a woman. That's just not true. Okay, she still somehow lost it. I don't know what you mean. What? Okay, whatever. I think she's more referring to Barack Obama, and a lot of people voted for him because he's black. But he, best president. He was always dropping them bombs, baby. Those truth bombs. Truth bombs, baby.
No one wanted her running. They wanted Bernie Sanders because they didn't like Hillary's policies and such.
Most people, Democrats, actually did want Hillary. I'm just saying, we should try to dismiss that myth. Let's just be real. I like Bernie. He's a nice guy, but just saying.
Hillary was the lesser of two evils in the voting, so obviously people voted for her because what else were they gonna fucking do? But that's not what people wanted. Not the left, anyway. This sounds like a you problem, man.
But when people had opposition to Obama being in office, what was the response?
Bro-Obama.
You're racist. You see, this is how it gives shield to...
Some people were probably racist. I think that it's hard to say that there was no racisms involved when there was a really big conservative outreach saying that Obama was a fucking Muslim from another country. Because that was a going narrative to the point where fucking John McCain had to say, you guys got to stop. It's not true. He's a good man. You stop calling him a fucking Muslim. Stop saying that. You're just being dishonest.
608 super chatted $15. Another day, another W stream.
Hey, thanks, brother. I appreciate that. But it was happening. Some people were racisming it. It's true. It's true. It's true.
People that are not qualified or don't actually want to enact policies that are going to help the people they claim they want to help.
I personally have not seen an argument happen where someone has said, I don't like the policies of this person, and then them being immediately accused of being racist or homophobic or misogynistic or anything.
I agree with that.
Unless they include at the end, it's of course a black man would do that. Of course.
Yeah, true.
This is why women shouldn't be in charge. This is why gay people shouldn't be in positions of authority.
True.
Then, rightfully, they are called racist or homophobic or misogynistic because they brought that into it. But a lot of people with critical thinking on both sides will come up with actual reasons why they dislike people. Most of the shit I see about Obama from the left is negative. It is negative. You can be good and bad at the same time. Not everything is black and white. Nothing is black and white.
Hey, listen, I like Obama because he helped bring us out of a recession. Okay, you can see but he increased our annual he increased the debt. No shit, because he inherited a huge annual federal deficit. Okay, the federal deficit, that's how much money you're spending over the money you're taking in. Okay, he reduced that. Okay, and then fucking Trump increased it. So I don't know what you want me to tell you. And that was before coronavirus. So don't go and say, well, it's because of Corona. It's no, man, it was because he's a silly goose. A gift? Give me a gift. Jerky? Cringe.
I'm glad that a black man was able to become president. It's cool that we were able to see that and finally have representation within the White House. And
the problem, though, is when I thought we got a first black man, I voted for him because I'm like, well, if we have a black president, that means that America is now black, right? And that means we can all get the pass. But I was actually told aggressively that I can't get the pass. I actually got hit. I was like, what? But we have a black president now. I'm one of you, my brother. And then they beat the fuck out of me. I was like, damn. So I just learned the hard way. That's the one disappointing thing about Obama becoming president is that we didn't all get the pass. At least one, right? Maybe it was retroactive. I don't know.
Also, I really disliked some of his policies and he did some really terrible things.
Like what?
You can like some policies and dislike some policies as long as you don't ever tie his race into that, which, as far as I am aware, most people, at least on the left, do not do. Yeah. So, I don't know, I was a child when that happened. And
they're not going to tie like that, but there's identity politics, which he's talking about more than anything else, which both sides do, of course. So
in the US, so I don't fucking know. But based on what happens now and the way I see people talk about it now, That's what I can say.
So now we're going to talk about diversity and inclusion. This is actually a job role that over the last couple of years has been booming right now. So many positions are being created for people to go into corporate America and educate the employees on diversity and inclusion as if they just woke up one day. I think I'm racist today. I think I'm homophobic today. So you have to ask
that's dumb. The fact that you even think that that's how it works, it just shows that you're being stupid, and you know that you're being dumb. Sorry for being rude, but racism doesn't really work like that. Most people aren't inherently or explicitly racist. It's more of just like the slight ways that you might perceive different people or not understand different cultural norms across different groups, right? So that's it. It's not that deep. You know, being a little bit more sensitive, right? Like, so I could be a bit of an insensitive guy in general. And so sensitivity training for me, it would more be just about like, hey, listen, when you start making jokes about how you like big fat titties, that can make girls uncomfortable. And I'm like, wow, you know, I didn't really think of it that way. I never did that in a public setting, but it's like, that's the point. It's like, hey, listen, maybe chill the fuck out a little bit when you talk about this, maybe censor yourself a little differently around this person. Maybe a little less cursing in a public setting. I'll give you like a real world example. Men are very gay in work. If you put a bunch of men together and you have them work together, they are incredibly gay. You might be like, well, that doesn't make any sense. It's very true. I think everybody should know this. Men are very gay. What they do is they'll do like really weird shit, like touch each other's asses, or they'll play gay chicken. It's very common. I don't know what to tell. Maybe it's just because younger people. I could have swore I dodged that. But and then they'll also like say some like weird shit all the time. So if you have a woman start working for you, like you're not going to really be able to just act the same way. And that's not her fault. You don't blame her for that. But like generally women may not really take kindly to playing a game of, grab ass with the other workers. And, you know, we shouldn't be doing that, but it's all consensual and we're just messing around. So that's a way where it's like, hey, here's some sensitivity training. You gotta curb that behavior because it's not going to make everybody comfortable. That's what we're more talking about there. Okay. Hey, it might be sussy, but it's fucking true. I work with a bunch of men and we would always do gay shit. We would like pretend to touch each other's asses and then, you know, sometimes we'd have to commit to it because that's the joke. But you obviously can't be doing that with women, right? It's just the truth. That's what sensitivity training is more about. Or I had an old guy who worked with me, real scumbag. He kept following women to their car and like chatting them up. And he's like, come on. And there's some of them were like young. Like some of those girls were probably not even 18. They like worked in the office. It's like, what are you doing? He was a creep. They should have done more about the shit he was doing, but they didn't. So,
in 2022, where is this need for wanting to educate everyone on diversity and inclusion? Because we already know what's up.
Again, good for you. I already know what all of this is. I know what inclusion is. I know what diversity is. I know what all of this stuff is. I know all these words. I know all of this. Some people don't. You aren't everyone. Why are you using the collective weight? You started this video off by being like, don't talk about all people like we're the same. Don't talk about it like we have the same experiences and the same knowledge, blah, blah, blah. And then this entire video, you've been just talking about it as though the entire world.
If you didn't do that with your buddies at work, then you never worked a real job.
Okay. Experience is the same.
Or you didn't work a union job.
Not everybody knows. Not everybody knows why it's important. Not everybody knows what it means. Not everyone is aware of their unconscious biases. Not everyone is aware of those things, especially people who are older. It's important because not everyone is educated.
The reason that they're introducing diversity and inclusion educators is to push a political agenda.
100% false. The reason that they're doing it is so that they can protect themselves legally. Like, if you don't understand that, then you're kind of like, you just don't understand what you're talking about. The reason that they put sexual harassment lawsuits or sexual harassment training or diversity training is because they don't want to get sued if one of their fucking workers starts blasting off the N-word in the fucking locker room or when they're eating and then a black guy walks into like the fucking bathroom. That's what it's actually about. Okay, let's not pretend that we're trying to push some fucking woke narrative. Do you think that this grocery store gives a singular fuck about anybody? No, they just don't want to get sued. That's all it comes down to. It's like, yeah, we don't want to overhear somebody fucking... some white kid that thinks that he's the next fucking Eminem blasting off the N-word with an A, because that's going to get him in trouble. That's going to get us in trouble because it make us seem like we don't give a shit about black people. That's all it is, bro. It's not, there's not this like fucking like woke narrative that's really going on. It's just like people are trying to be a little more sensitive so that they don't get sued, okay?
that ultimately will help shape society. Essentially, it's social engineering. If you make these courses mandatory in order for you to keep your job, some people might end up quitting because they don't want to be subjected to this new education, which I'm going to get into in a second.
If you quit because of like a fucking 2-hour course at your job, then you wanted to quit for other reasons. Shut up. If you're like, that's the ultimate, that's like the epitome of fucking sensitivity. Like you being too sensitive. I'm going to quit because I don't want to have to be a little bit sensitive to people. What? You're a loser, dude. What's wrong with you? Like, let's be real. Most of the time you go through the training course and then like you just don't care anyway. You just still do whatever you want to do and nobody stops you. So it's not even like it matters that much, frankly. What are you talking about? What an idiot. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be that rude, but like that's this idea that that's even acceptable. Like, oh yeah, you could like it's a reason to quit your job because you have to be more sensitive to people is just preposterous to me. Holy fuck, that's just weird.
When people start leaving their job as a result of these courses, what you're also doing is dominating the workforce, dominating corporate America, that only one line of thinking is able to work in a certain industry, which is extremely dangerous.
Well, if people want to leave because they don't...
The line of thinking is being more sensitive. That's it. That's all it is. It's the same thing as when you have to like wear a uniform. It's not that big of a deal. It's just a policy. All right, it's not like they're like, you have to vote a certain way or we fire you. It's like, no, you just have to be more sensitive. It really comes down to you. It's not even that you just can't say as many things. You can't go around. You might not be able to make sexual jokes anymore. Like, hey, you can't make those because we have like this person here. And like, it's insensitive. They don't like it. And it's like, okay, it's not that deep.
Want to work with queer people or people of color, etc. Good. It's not dangerous to not have racist people at your company. That's not dangerous. It's not dangerous to like not have homophobic people work at your company. The whole point is that it's creating a safe space for everyone, and if people don't want to respect each other, then they shouldn't work there. That's literally the point.
Remember the first tactic I talked about earlier in this video? It's encouraging collectiveness. So if you can make everyone think as a collective, me as a black person, I think just like this black...
Well, there's nothing wrong with fundamentally being a little more collective. So like, when you say collectiveness, I think like community community... like more community driven. It's not that big of a deal to be more community driven. You know, like fundamentally, like, hey, these are our taxes go here and whatnot. You know, like it's not that big of a deal to be a little more community or a little more sensitive to people and shit like that. Though this is hard. So stop fucking locking me down, dude. I'm getting pissed. I don't fuck with this. Oh, this boss is so... Oh, I...
black person, I'm gonna go out and march in the streets for George Floyd or Breonna Taylor because I somehow think I'm related to them or whatever.
You cannot seriously believe that you are separate to that issue. It is a very well, like, established just fact that black people are discriminated against and do suffer more from police violence and police brutality. That is just an established fact.
But right now what you're telling her is because she's black, she has to care about this issue. You really shouldn't, you should try not to go that far in there. Because you're getting a little crazy. She probably doesn't identify with it. Because like it's also a fact that black people resist arrest and they resist arrest and they give the police more problems too. And that comes from like a long-term teaching of disrespecting police because they've historically disrespected them. It's a very complicated issue that like stems from systemic racism, but there's a lot of different reasons. Some of it is absolutely profiling. That profiling comes because black people tend to disproportionately cause crime. Black people tend to disproportionately cause crime because they've been denied resources. So what happens is like the system itself is set up in a way that like causes all these really negative outcomes where police officers will disproportionately target black people and then black people will disproportionately be disrespectful to police. I'm not saying it's black people's fault. I'm just saying that these are very complicated issues. So, you know, but I also wouldn't go with the narrative of like, like I just wouldn't have said that because now you're treating her as if she's black first and a person second, and that's the problem. That's one of the core. Damn, bro, I get nay-nayed. That's one of the core issues that some black people will get frustrated with is getting treated like a black person first. And like a black person first and then a person second. I think it's very frustrating for people. So.
And I understand wanting to disconnect yourself from that because it is like a scary reality. And you don't want to accept that that is something that could potentially happen to you. And I understand.
And now you're telling her that she faces this oppression when she just may not. It's like, oh, well, basically, you just don't know. You don't really know that you're facing this oppression. It's like, well, now what you're doing is you're taking away her agency. Yeah, maybe she has a fucking trauma response. Or maybe she just hasn't faced this. because it's just not a struggle that she's dealt with. I mean, I don't know.
Understand that as much as
If you take
a white
damage,
person can understand that, but it doesn't make it not
Yeah, sure, let's see
true. You know, like, you don't have to know them personally. You don't have to relate to those experiences explicitly in order to understand that that is a reality and it is something that does happen. It's not even about the fact that, like, you know, you personally have experienced police brutality or you have the potential to experience police brutality. It is about acknowledging the fact that racism does exist and you are affected by that in some way or another. And because of that, you are connected to other black people in that sense. It doesn't mean you aren't connected to white people and Asian.
You're doing the thing. This is what Gothix is frustrated with fundamentally, is being corralled so heavily and like when she has an experience, what you're telling, like what's happening here is that first of all, it's possible that there are some black people who just don't face oppression, okay, and they don't feel like they face it. That's fine. That doesn't mean that all black people don't. Maybe Gothix just doesn't identify with that oppression. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But now you're telling her that she has to, and that the fact that she feels like she isn't is just inherently wrong, and that you're telling her that she doesn't have the agency over her own body and over her own mind to make that decision of whether she is or isn't being oppressed. And this is one of the problems that black people have when it comes to this kind of shit. It's like, listen to all black people until the black people are saying things that like aren't aligned with like what you think the world is like. Like, just like if she doesn't identify with that oppression, okay. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe she's like chilling. You know? I'm just saying.
Asian people and indigenous people, etc. You are connected to everyone. And you just relate to people in different ways, and different experiences relate to people in different ways. And that is unfortunately, obviously, something that you are able to relate to in some sense that like is not something I'm ever going to be able to relate to, or any other white person is going to be able to relate to.
They'll never
Think
relate
about
to
it.
me.
A lot of people
I'm part of
still
the
have
most
to put
oppressed class. I'm a gamer. Gamers are the most oppressed classes.
food on the table. They still got to pay their rent. So the result is they'll take these courses and they'll have to abandon their reason or abandon their own values just to get a paycheck. And actually, this is a great segue to remind you of one of my previous videos titled Jesus is the Answer. Christianity ties into a lot of the social divide that we're seeing right now. A lot of the division that...
It's true. Christianity does tie a lot to that because they hate gay people. There's literally, we use Christianity to invalidate the existence of fucking gay people. Like, not for nothing, that's what pushes people away from the church, is that fucking that more than anything else. I'm just letting you know. Fuck, dude. Just letting you know. I gotta play better.
What's happening is a direct attack on Christianity, because let's be real, America was founded on Christian morals. It's written everywhere. Pledge of Allegiance.
It's true, but you have to, again, like, this is something that religious people have to understand. The reason people are less religious is because of you. Not because of you specifically, but because your ideology was used to kill people, gay people, just by virtue of their existence, and oppress them. And people are like, you know what? I have a gay family member, and they're pretty cool people. I think that it's shitty that this religion says that they should die just by virtue of their existence. It's not just Christianity. It's like every organized religion just fucking hates gay people. So, all it comes down to.
Allegiance. It's in our money. It's a part of our culture.
That is
it is, but
that was a statement and a half. My good God. Ooh, first and foremost, America was founded on Christianity. America existed well before Christians arrived. America was like, destroyed.
Stop. Okay, we understand that. What she's saying is that our America as it is today, not the actual continent, just the organized place was founded on it. Okay, that's what she's talking about. Like, our society was founded on religious beliefs, and she's right about that. But she, just saying like, no, there's stuff here before that. Sure, but like that's not what she's referring to. She's referring to like the United States of America. So you should meet her at her argument instead of just trying to like roundabout and dodge her argument, which is what you're doing here.
Because of Christianity, Americans were like murdered and kidnapped and abused because of Christianity, and converted into Christianity. And then they built modern day America off of the back of all of that. But it didn't have a really good starting point, considering it started with murder and torture and raiding and demolishing and war, and all of that is where it started. So that's not a very good foundation for a country. So already, yikes. Yikes. Also,
you could have also met her with like, hey, if we operated in a way where like this is, if we said like, oh well, America was founded on this, we should adhere to it. Then what you're saying is that you should be re-enslaved, because like that is unfortunately an American foundation was slavery. So it's a good thing that we grow as a society and we change. So
The Pledge of Allegiance, like it's a good thing, is another big yikes for me because the Pledge of Allegiance is arguably one of the most fucked up, terrifying things ever.
Why? What are you talking about?
It is terrifying,
Why is
and
it
it should not exist, like at schools and shit. It's terrifying.
What?
Don't do that.
Wait, what's terrifying about the Pledge of Allegiance? I don't understand that, boy. You completely lost me. What's terrifying about it? You could say that you think it's cringe. That's fine. Okay, I don't care. I like the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm an American. I'm an Eagle Scout. But why is it terrifying? What scares you about saying the fucking pledge?
You want to talk about like brainwashing kids and like forcing people to do stuff against their will? It's that. Especially if you want to be saying, you know,
hey. Same thing with brushing your teeth. Am I right, guys? We never should have had to brush our teeth or take baths. That's ridiculous. It's fucking brainwashing, guys. It's crazy. I know she's referring to like grooming and LGBTQ shit and being like, okay, if you're going to call that grooming, what was the Pledge of Allegiance? I get what you're saying there, but why is it terrifying?
Christianity, as are the morals of your country. And then you're forcing all children at schools to do the Pledge of Allegiance. You are then forcing children of other religions to pledge allegiance to like a Christian.
But we haven't forced people to do it in a long time. So like, you know that. You can just sit down for the pledge. You don't have to do it. I still do it because I'm a based king. So.
Thing. That's against their beliefs. That's against their morals. And yet they're being forced to do that because America was founded on Christianity. Modern day America literally came in and like destroyed all the culture that exists before them, including like third genders, which you don't think exists because you prefer the modern day Christian America, obviously. The Pledge of Allegiance isn't good. Having a country built on Christianity isn't good.
See, the problem is in like different societies, their genders are like different. Like there's one society, I forget what it was, I watched this like really good people like why are gay people gay or whatever. It was a really good video. Where like there were people who, if they were basically gay boys, because like when you're pretty much born gay, like whether it's of genetic or whether there's like hormone washing in the womb or a collective between those two, you're born gay. So they would basically raise those young boys to be girls. And they would fulfill like a third gender role. I forget what society that's in. There are some genders like two-spirit. My understanding is those are religious gender roles, right? So like they're more like, oh, we're more spiritual. It's a little more nuanced than that. There's roles in some countries, I forget which ones, where if they don't have a son, they raise the daughter to be a man to take over that role. It's interesting, but it's not quite as like just pick whatever you want nowadays. And I know it's a little more complicated than that. Is it Tahiti? Is that what it is? But like they haven't all historically been like just choose and do whatever you want. Historically, they usually are asserted onto the person. Is that what it is? Tahiti gender roles. The roles. Oh, okay. Is that which one you're talking about? So yeah, just keep that in mind. That because nowadays you're allowed to pick. That never was something that you were allowed to do. You didn't really get that autonomy over you. So
you're meant to separate church and state, right? Is that not the fucking thing? Is that not a thing? Is that not a thing? Then shouldn't Christianity not be part of the money? It shouldn't be part of the country's morals. That shouldn't be an integral part of your society.
Tahiti?
Christianity
Did I say it wrong? Tahiti.
Should not play a role in your country's morals and ethics because one wasn't a Christian country.
Well, I disagree with that. I think that there are some good things that come from religion. There are some good morals that come from religion, and it's not bad to have like that as a foundation. You just shouldn't force it as the foundation. And different people need to look to different moral foundations. That's something that's very important. So like as people become less religious, they need to look at other spiritual things that'll keep them aligned with like what they need to do, so they stay good people. So instead of acting in their own best self-interest.
To begin with, that was kind of forced upon people. Two, not everyone's fucking Christian. Not everyone's Christian. Get over it.
I'm Daniel.
And three, separate church and state, right? Surely that's in your fun little constitution. So
fuck.
What's this argument for?
Bro, I dodged that.
So if you want to get rid of America, you have to first get rid of Christianity. So check out that video.
Right.
Drop a like if you want me to watch that
me it's
video,
a
by the
promise.
way. I haven't. It's quite long.
You promise?
If you want me to watch it, leave a like and a comment. And I'll do it when I get to like 9,000 likes. Let's aim for 9K likes, and then I'll
just do it.
I'll do this video.
My fiance had to take one of these stupid courses, all right?
Oh, shit.
And he showed me what was in one of the slides, and they were talking about gender identity. Now, gender identity is a made-up concept.
No, correct. Yeah, gender identity is a made-up concept because gender is a made-up concept.
All right, you guys got to not boil it down. Okay, gender is a social construct. Just like all social constructs, it is established within like an absolute truth, right? So there are objectively men and women that exist. Now, what we call men and women, that's the social construct, right? Like, for instance, we call, what does it mean when you got both of them? Intersex people. We call them intersex. we choose to socially construct that idea as they are like an anomaly, because it's like there's a very rare chance of that happening, which makes sense, but we still socially construct that, right? The concept of that and the New Age concept of gender identity really kind of comes from this concept of separating the mind and the body. So you have a body sex and then a mind gender, which makes sense. And then you have different relationships with the different social constructs or the different like interactions you have with the world. It can make sense. I get it. I just want to, you know, that's kind of my understanding of it more than anything else. You know, gender is the sex of the mind, right? It's a little different.
Because everything is a fucking made-up concept. Money is a made-up concept. Money's not real. Gender isn't real. None of it's fucking real.
I don't care how many allies have told you otherwise or how many doctors and scientists have affirmed this. Those aren't doctors.
Bro, I just would never be caught in my whole fucking life saying, I don't care how many doctors said this. It's not true. It's like, I'm thinking that maybe if it's the doctor, that might be true. If they're the doctor. That's one of the things, is there's a lot. It's not just like some silly gooses. It's just a general collective of people that are like, yeah, this is a real thing. That's for me most of the time. That's enough. That's enough for me, you know.
Those are activists. And in the Bible, it recognizes men and women. There are no pronouns. There is no non-binary.
It also recognizes like justifiable slavery. And before you say, well, actually, it's just slavery if you can't pay your debts. Okay, well, so then you're telling me if you're in credit card debt, you should be a fucking slave. Like, you just stop justifying slavery. It's stupid. Okay? Jesus, bro, I'm getting fucking panhandled here. I don't even know what that word means. Huh. Oh, fuck. My mother. Okay, stop it. Things are obviously changing because as we get older as a society, we grow, we understand things better. We have more access to things like math and science, okay? Which apparently God didn't really give us originally. Oh, ain't gonna fuck with me that time, bitch.
Binary, it simply doesn't exist.
I don't care if doctors and scientists say that there are more than two genders. I don't care if doctors and scientists say that being trans is a real thing and it's a biological thing. They're lying. The doctors who have qualifications and who have spent years studying this and who actually know how all of this works and how bodies work, they're fucking lying. I know better because I read the Bible, and the Bible doesn't mention gender and it doesn't mention pronouns. I promise you, the men who wrote the Bible.
Well, I think that it just kind of just says men and women. Like, it doesn't mention pronouns. It doesn't mention the concept of pronouns like that you're talking about, but it doesn't mention pronouns. Let's just be real. All right. It doesn't womanshim them, by the way. It just mentions them. Right. So that's how you know men are better.
Know more about gender than biologists, doctors, scientists, etc. Now, in the year of 2023, when we have so much technology and understanding, back then they thought the fucking world was flat. What do you mean? Reading the Bible doesn't make you understand how people work. That's not a science book. Things that don't exist. I love this too.
I will say there's a little bit of an irony in like religious people saying that like gender doesn't exist because it's all made up in your head, when you believe that there's a magic man in the sky that told somebody to kill all their children just for like the fucking, just so that they proves that they're loyal to them. Like, I feel like there's probably a higher chance that gender's real than the magic man in the sky. And I love God and Jesus. I personally think that there are some people playing telephone tag with religion, and they reappropriated that religion to oppress people for their own benefit. But I mean, how are you going to say, oh, you can't be a fucking man. You're a woman. Trans doesn't exist. Facts don't care about your feelings. By the way, that motherfucker up there, I have to kill my child in order for him to validate me as a human being. Okay, so I'm going to fucking stab my fucking baby to death. By the way, if you said that now, I would go to jail and be deemed fucking insane, right? I would have a mental disorder if I told you a magic man in the sky told me to stab my kid to death. But back then, if I was fucking crazy and said I was the son of the creator of the universe, they made a fucking book about me, bro. It is interesting because I feel like as we've risen in our understanding of mental health, we've reduced the amount of Jesus people. There's less Jesuses now. I feel like those two things might come in. They might be linked. The lack of Jesuses with the increase, I don't know, of mental health understanding. I'm just saying, dude. I mean, what better defense could you ever get? It's like, yeah, imagine you just shake your baby because you're angry and you're a bad person. And you're like, no, just the creator of the world told me I had to kill my kid. Oh, yeah, no, I'm fucking all over that, brother. That makes a lot of sense, dude. Holy fuck. You know what else they told me? What? That we should just kill gay people. They are terrible people. Why? They don't kill their babies. No, but they're just gay, and I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. In fact, I killed my baby because we accept gay people so much. Oh, it makes so much sense. Maybe he wouldn't have killed his baby if we just killed gay people instead, guys. The logic's there. If you slam your skull against the floor, it makes sense to you then, okay?
Gender or trans or pronouns in the Bible. Okay, well, I'm pretty sure they do use pronouns in the Bible. I'm like almost certain. I've never read the Bible, but I can be pretty certain they use pronouns. But also, just because something doesn't exist in the Bible doesn't mean it doesn't exist in real life. Did they mention cars? Did they mention plumbing? Did they mention cell phones or lights? Did they mention camera that you're filming on right now or the internet? Do none of those things exist because they weren't mentioned in the Bible? No, of course not. Those are very real. They just weren't mentioned in the Bible because people weren't aware that we could create the technology to make that a thing. People weren't aware of what the future held. They didn't know shit. If you want to live your life in the way that if it's not in the Bible, it doesn't exist,
whoa, relax. Stop hurting me.
I welcome you to do so because money also didn't exist. Capitalism, that didn't exist. So much.
I feel like that's always existed. What do you mean? What? We've always had like a money structure. What? I mean, a lot of the Bible talks about people as property. So, like, what? Oh, whatever.
A majority of the shit we have didn't exist. But I welcome you to go try to live your life that way. Even stuff that existed at the time maybe wasn't written into the Bible. Because this is another reason why, representation and diversity matters. It was written by a man. So obviously they're going to put things in that, like, benefit men and what they view the world like, right? Like, trans people have always existed. Non-binary people or people outside of men and women have always existed, and they're very prevalent among other cultures. And are you going to look into the cultures and the books and the histories of other religions and other cultures? No. Then why do we have to respect yours? Because
I think her argument would be like, we live in America, so obviously we would adhere to traditional American values. I don't agree with that. I agree with some of it. There's some values that, but yeah, like being an American, bro. I'm getting tired of this fucking shit. Okay, I get like my ass raw dogged constantly. Okay, I don't give a fuck anymore. Just die. So fucking tired of this shit. I'm gonna die again.
In so many cultures, being trans is like very important and like very, admired, and it's an important part of their culture. And that is like
God did write the Bible. Stop. All right, God told other people to write the Bible because he doesn't know how to write. He's illiterate. He's also blind. Okay, that's why he needs somebody else to do it for him. That's why he appeared to somebody in a fucking bush, okay? Because he can't write. I don't know why, it's a little interesting. But hey. We got this, baby. Oh, fuck. Damn.
Seen as like a magical thing.
Hogwarts Legacy sucks.
But you don't care about that. You don't care about anyone else's heritage or anyone else's culture because you view the Bible as the only thing that matters and the only thing that is real and based on reality. And that's so disrespectful. She made a whole other video that I was going to watch, but I've been here for too long and I don't think I have time. Okay. But I'll summarize a little bit. Maybe I'll do a video about it later as well. Or maybe I'll do a video on my second channel. Basically, she has a whole video talking about like lying and how being trans isn't real. And if you acknowledge someone's preferred pronouns and their like new gender, you are lying to them. But a majority of people don't believe in your God. A majority of people don't follow the Bible. A majority of people don't believe the Bible to be true. And you do. And you are telling everyone who disagrees with what the Bible says that they are wrong. You are calling them liars. But to me, you are a liar. So why are you correct and everyone else is wrong? Why are you lying to me? It might be your truth, but it's a lie to me. And you said don't lie to people, but you're lying to me because that's not my truth. And it's not the truth for so many others.
What if God was so progressive he didn't mention people's transition and just properly always use their preferred pronouns in the Bible? Fuck, that's space, dude. Holy shit, maybe. Right.
All you have to do is respect everyone's individual truth. Because as you said, we are all individuals and we can't live under one collective mind, which is something that you are trying to enforce because you want everyone to live by your morals and what you believe is true. But I thought you said that was damaging and dangerous. Respect people's truths, respect people's individuality.
So the next time someone talks about diversity, inclusion, or representation, run the other way.
Okay, so that was Gothix. Ooh, I spoke a lot.
I'm gonna be real with you. When people talk too much about it, I do go the other way because I find them to be annoying. Usually people who like go on and on about diversity and shit are very annoying people. But that's just me not being friendly with them. I'll be like, oh, okay, and then I'm just like, some people are just annoying. That's just not me, man. I'm not really trying to sit here and have the robust conversations about how everybody in the whole world is oppressed for like everything. It does get a little cringe, but.
What? She got me real riled up. There are a few videos of hers that I would like to sit down and watch and talk about. So I might do another one of them. Like I said, 9,000 likes and I'll do the one about Jesus. And I might do one on the second channel. I haven't uploaded there for a while, so maybe I will there. It's Kiwi with a Q if you want to go subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you did enjoy. A massive thank you to my Sprout and Above patrons whose names are up on the screen right now. And a huge thank you to my Kiwi Cat patrons, Wolf, Toulousk, Bobby, Josh, Mandy, Robbie, Ikazel, Kai, Jessica, Eldo, Ida, Queer Corey, Mick McKenna, Anna,
Right.
Raven, Danielle,
She's just
Elvis,
casting spells at us at this point. All right, interesting video.
I want Papa Gut to pee on my face, but just as a friend. There's nothing weird about that. I want him to pee on my face.